One of the best nights in my football career.
Dreams were coming true for me at that time.
We could get out of this situation. You know, we could win something.
Hibs was an absolutely fantastic club who'd went through a real rough point, a real low point in their history.
I think the emotions were more for the fans at that time. They were in danger of their club going out of business.
I'd seen bad times at Hibs before then, but this was obviously a lot worse.
This is the story of the club that wouldn't die. And it begins in 1989 when Hibernian became the first football team in Scotland to float itself in the stock market. To Hibs' famously fanatical supporters, this was the opportunity of a lifetime. And thousands became proud shareholders in the club they loved.
The most important person at Easter Road isn't Alec Miller, it's you, Hibs fans.
The problem was that the men who ran the club had the business acumen of Del Boy Trotter. And after a series of dubious deals, by 1991, Hibs were in financial crisis. And then the unthinkable happened.
The Scottish Premier Division club, Heart of Midlothian, have made a £6 million takeover bid for their Edinburgh neighbours, Hibernian.
The Hearts chairman Wallace Mercer strode into an Edinburgh hotel this afternoon to announce the boldest takeover bid British football has ever heard.
To know that your local rivals were planning on taking you over, it was a hard thing to stomach.
That there was considerable merit in Edinburgh and the Lothians combining together the two principal clubs to try and create one unit.
I don't know why Wallace Mercer would have taken that on in the first place. He must have known the strength of feeling and the trouble that he'd bring upon himself, really.
If the takeover bid goes through, Hibs will find themselves on the losing end. Their name wiped from the Scottish football map after over a century in the game.
But I don't think he realised that the intensity between the Hearts and the Hibs fans, the rivalry, and for want of a better word, the hatred.
Don't believe it, no, can't believe it. You're going to go yourself?
Go where?
Go to a new club.
No danger, no danger.
He was getting death threats and all this sort of stuff at that particular time.
Faced with the prospect of losing their club forever, outraged Hibs fans launched a dramatic rescue operation. Tens of thousands of them mobilised, and the Hands Off Hibs campaign was born. If Wallace Mercer was going to take over their club, he'd have to walk over a lot of dead bodies in Leith to get to it.
This is not a merger, this is a takeover of this great club.
People were losing their jobs because of this. People were turning up at the stadium, on the rallies, missing time at their work.
I think Wallace Mercer underestimated the Hibs fans and their passion and their feelings for the club. To treat the club like a business was the wrong thing to do, and in the end it was the Hibs supporters who shone through and showed their passion and their drive for the club and wouldn't let him anywhere near it.
And they did that by going to someone who had absolutely no interest in football whatsoever. The Leith-born entrepreneur who gave the world QuickFit, multi-millionaire Sir Tom Farmer.
They played an ace card, actually, these guys, and they came along very emotional, and it was obvious it was something that was very important to them, and they said, listen, this is a Leith team. It's not really a Leith team, it's a Scottish team, an Edinburgh team, but they said it's a Leith team. But more important, do you know that your grandfather and his brother 100 years ago in 1891 stepped in to save the Hibs when they were just about going into extinction? And they played that card. And so anyway, I decided that I would try to do something to help them. And that's when it all started.
Sir Tom Farmer's grandfather and great-uncle saved Hibs from closure by donating £5 to the club. Still a small fortune in 1891. Sir Tom started with about 300,000 in loose change and has continued to invest in the high bees ever since. Tom Farmer 1, Wallace Mercer 0. Who says you can't buy a result in football, eh?
He gave me a nod, but Wallace could shrug it off. He was a strong guy, and he knew at the end of the day, right, what he was trying to do was something that he actually passionately believed in it.
So Hibs fans had finally succeeded in saving their club from extinction, and were quite rightly ecstatic. But Sir Tom must have felt like he'd done a deal with Dylan Rodney. He'd just bought a company in dire financial straits, with assets that bizarrely included a string of trendy wine bars in Bath, as well as the football team languishing in the lower reaches of the Premier League.
There was no morale. Everybody that was associated with the club was down. There was no real leadership. There was no buzz, nothing, and it was pretty bad.
Hibs got off to a fantastically bad start in the 1990-91 season, losing 2-0 at Aberdeen, followed by a shock 1-0 League Cup defeat at Raith Rovers, and another 2-goal loss at Celtic Park. But none of that really mattered. What mattered was the fast-approaching Edinburgh derby against arch-rivals Hearts. This was their first meeting since the failed takeover bid, and after the humiliation of Wallace Mercer's attack, Hibs could not afford to lose. This match wasn't about football. It was about pride.
Both sides wanted to win it, and I think after the takeover bid, everybody knew this was a powder keg.
There was always going to be a problem, because I think it built up and built up.
Miller getting the touch to it. Robertson's in there. Robertson doing well. And a deflection, it's a goal for Hearts!
It was pretty vile.
To have an incident on the field. Disgraceful scenes, these quite dreadful scenes. Levine with the header and the ball in the net, and it's John Robertson, I think, getting the final touch. The ball through to Foster, he's got Robertson in the middle. John Robertson, what a goal by Hearts!
Hibs lost 3-0. For Hibs players and fans, the outlook had never seemed so bleak.
Once you play the Hearts and you get beat, you never forget it.
And there in fact goes the final whistle.
Every time you lose to your closest rivals, it leaves a horrible taste in your mouth, but just that game especially was very, very hard to take. It's with you all the time, wherever you go, wherever you drink, wherever you eat, but that's football.
My heart was broken.
Sunshine on Leith? Someone misread the weather forecast.
I think it was just one of those seasons for Hibs where everything seemed to go wrong. If it could go wrong, it went wrong.
I think we went a period of 16 games without a win, and it just wasn't what the fans were looking for.
But from behind the clouds came a shaft of light. Somehow manager Alex Miller managed to persuade Murdo MacLeod to return home from German giants Borussia Dortmund. Some thought MacLeod's decision to come to Hibs a little strange. Others thought it was just plain madness.
We've been through a very sticky time. They survived that. They're going to get stronger, and I'm just glad to be part of it.
I arrived at the club and my debut was at Tannadice, always very tough up there, and I thought, goodness, what a place to start. We went up there, and I always remember, played really well and nothing each, and I felt the team played fairly well as well, and I thought, well, it's a good side, a lot of good players on the side. And then I think it must have been about the 90th minute, their goalkeeper just launched a ball the length of the pitch, and Willie Miller, who was playing right back at the time, well, he just let the ball go over his head, and he ran back, he just volleyed it, and he's lifted the ball over the goalkeeper into the net for an own goal in the 90th minute. And I thought, well, that's all that. My good headlines away that we're no starting with a point at Tannadice, and I didn't realise at the time that's the way the season was going to continue between then and the end of the season. I think it was a really shit season for us.
Right enough, the season was going down the pan. After losing 2 crucial games to St Johnstone and St Mirren just before Christmas, Hibs were bottom of the table and had lost so many matches that even with half the season still to go, they were favourites for relegation.
I don't think any player doesn't want to go down as being in the team that they were relegated in that particular year.
Getting abuse from your own supporters, you're getting abuse from other supporters, you're getting abuse everywhere simply because you're failed.
The most popular chant on the terraces that season, just 3 words. Miller must go! Miller must go! Miller must go!
The fans want to see a winning team. They don't care whether you've got injuries, whether you've no finance or not. They want to see a winning team. The unfortunate thing as well is I came from Glasgow. I played with Glasgow Rangers, which didn't go down too well with the Hibs supporters, so...
By the new year of 1991, Hibs had gone 11 games without a win. Relegation looked inevitable. Prayer seemed the only option. But God works in mysterious ways, and lo it was, the Scottish Football League answered their plea.
At the end of this season, there will be no relegation from the Premier Division, and the top 2 teams in the First Division will be promoted to the Premier Division, giving a 12-12-14 set-up for next season.
It was just a massive relief for us all, you know. I think everybody realises you're still in the big division, you know, and that's the main thing.
But just when it appeared safe to stroll down to Easter Road for the start of the new season, the newspapers were once again dusting down their crisis headlines. This time, the club had gone into receivership.
It came as a shock to everyone, because all of a sudden they're looking and what's happening here? Are we going to have another campaign of saving the club, or are we going to the wall? Are we going to get paid?
A statement issued by the receiver said it was expected the club's future would be resolved once its finances were unravelled from those of Forth Investments.
Things may have seemed bleak to the players, but actually in the boardroom, Tom Farmer had everything under control. Now listen very carefully.
When he went to receivership, the receiver then sold the football club and sold the property, and he kept the holding company, which was now called Forth Investments, and all of the pubs, and he then did his job, disposed of them, and I bought the football club and the property. The reason for separating the property from the football club was quite simple, was that any debt would go into the property company, and the football club would be free of debt, or at least have an overdraft, which was just an ordinary working overdraft, and would have one job and one job only, and that was to build a highly motivated team of people who played on the field.
Tom Farmer's shrewd business manoeuvres at last brought some stability to the club, and the fans looked forward to great things from a promising new signing who was one of them. At last, Hibs were on the right road.
That was my aim in life, to play for Hibs, you know, and you might never get another chance.
Keith had the chance to go to Aberdeen for £500,000 or come to Easter Road for £500,000, and he chose to come to us, which really said something about how he felt for the club, and it made the boys raise their eyebrows a wee bit and think, well, hang on a minute here, the manager means business. Tom Farmer's obviously come and put his money in, you know, maybe something can happen.
A new season and a new reason to believe. Except as Keith Wright said hello, the goalie was saying goodbye. Scotland keeper Andy Gorham flitted along the M8 and joined Rangers. Alex Miller had to find an experienced and level-headed keeper fast. John Burridge was the oldest professional keeper in Britain, so experience wasn't a problem. It was the level-headed bit that worried Alex.
He had done a magnificent job signing me, because I was brilliant. I was his best signing by far.
If you know him, he's a bit off-the-wall character. Maybe that's been kind to him.
How can you describe John Burridge?
John's a lunatic.
When John Burridge is happy, everybody's happy.
Sometimes he would drive, from a management point of view, he would drive you around the bend.
Turn up at training and Budgie would be ready with his boots on and his gloves, and that would be it.
Bullock, mate, you're freezing cold. I'm hard, I am.
We needed at the club somebody to come in, someone to lighten up the dressing room, somebody who was bonkers, and most certainly Budgie fitted the bill.
Burridge's 1,000-watt nuttiness and Keith Wright's 100% passion for Hibs gave the team the lift they needed. And before the 91-92 season kicked off, Alex Miller was confident.
Stephen, dive with your feet out. You've got a solid spine, and at that stage we had Brian Hamilton and Murdo MacLeod in the central midfield area. And then we had up front, we had Keith Wright, we had Gareth, we had Mickey Weir in a wide area. You know, so we had a good mixture of experience and young players. And
football's all about confidence. If you can go off to a good start, it sets up your season, and most certainly that's what our season was going to be about. If you could get off to a good start, and I'm sure the players would all respond to it.
You could bet on it. In fact, they did. Murdo took a trip to the local bookies and did some confidence-building research.
Did I get filled up by the SFA for this?
He had come into the changing room one day and says that he had got a good price for us to win the League Cup.
So we went round all the boys, and some gave a £5, some gave a £10, some gave 20 quid. So everybody gave what they could afford at the time, and money get put on the bookies.
I'm not too sure of the odds. I think it was about 25 to 1.
40 to 1.
Whoa! Dear me, that's 400 nicker, isn't it? 400... Oh, they didn't let me know about that.
So the bet was on. They had the right players and the right spirit. On the terraces, the fans hoped their team could cover up the mental scars of the previous season and actually start winning.
After the first 2 or 3 games, when I think we won 2 and drew 1, we knew that something might be happening.
In the third league game of the season, Keith Wright, the Leith-born Hibs fanatic, scored the goal he dreamt about all his life.
I didn't think I was ever going to score. I had a few chances, and the goal I eventually scored was one that I didn't catch too well, and I sort of kicked the ball into the ground.
Keith Wright got a touch, here's Wright again, and this time he makes no mistake.
I was delighted to see that hit the back of the net, and that gave me a lot of confidence as well. So as I went on to score a few goals after that.
And safely drilled away by Keith Wright to put Hibs 1-0 ahead after just 5 minutes.
Winning becomes a habit.
And McIntyre has scored.
We knew before we went out we were going to keep a clean sheet. And we knew Keith or Gareth or Pat McGinley would score.
Murdo's betting slip was becoming more valuable by the game. Hibs were brimming with confidence and the fans were loving it. Not only were their team doing well in the league, but after beating Stirling Albion, Kilmarnock and Ayr United, the club were suddenly within touching distance of a trophy for the first time in 19 years. The last 4 teams in the draw for the League Cup were Hibernian, Dunfermline, Airdrie and Rangers.
When we got there and all the press rooms filled with all the press boys, they're doing a draw down the front, it came out Rangers against Hibs. And I'm kind of thinking, no, that's not in the script. We didn't want them, we'll keep them for the final.
We're pleased. It's a draw everybody wanted to avoid.
I met Maurice Johnson, who was the striker for Rangers at the time, and he's pal with Graham Mitchell, the left back, and he said, oh, it's a pity. If we'd reached the final, both of us would have got a medal. He says, so it's a pity you're going to miss out. I said, oh, we'll wait and see.
One person with absolute belief in his ability to take Rangers by the scruff of the neck and shake them all over the park was away with the bird's budgie. He started with a quiet word in the ear of the opposing striker.
Hately! You're supposed to be a hard man, eh? Come in my box, son. I'll break your back.
He would do anything to psych players up.
And you, McCoy, you're a superstar up here, son. You went down Sunderland and failed. You couldn't play with the big boys.
Maybe that was his way of calming people down. Maybe we then realised, well, if John Burry's can stand up to them, we can stand up to them.
700 Premier League games, boys. You haven't played one between yous. You're rubbish.
Hibs went out fighting and held their ground against Rangers, Burridge leading from the back.
Budgie was in top form that night.
There's a chance for Johnston, setting himself with a left foot shot. Here's McCoy on the rebound. And Burridge was quick enough.
Budgie again, quick reflexes, he got his cell up, and Alan McCoy hit a really good volley, and Budgie again was up there to stop it.
At the other end, Andy Gorham, playing for the first time against his old teammates, was desperate for his first piece of silverware. With the first half drawing to a close, the game was locked at 0-0. Something had to give.
Header down by Spackman, lofted through there by McGinley. There's no offside. Here's Mark McGraw, and a fine challenge made by Andy Gorham. There's Mickey Weir trying to chip.
And was trying to hit an area for Keith to get that big head he has on it.
It was like slow motion when it come over, and the fact that the Rangers players split and went on each of the posts.
And Hibs are ahead.
It's a matter of hitting the header into the middle of the goal.
Chip, Keith Wright with a header, and Hibs are ahead.
And Hibs went on to hold Rangers for the next 50 minutes. Keith Wright's winning goal had his fellow Hibs fans scrambling for cup final tickets, something unthinkable just 12 months before.
And there goes the final whistle. Hibs have beaten Rangers They're through to the Skull Cup final. And there's the scene of jubilation.
We went out to celebrate that night, I remember that. We went, Edinburgh boys went back to town and celebrated as if I'd won the cup.
Our lads were starting to get a bit cocky now. You know, we're good. You know, we're good.
You sometimes think when you've won the semi-final against a big club, then the final's easy. But the final's twice as hard if you go in with that attitude.
No one knew more about how important the League Cup final was than Alex Miller, the man who'd borne the brunt of the pressure, the misery and the abuse of the last 2 years.
Where I felt it most was my family. I had two young sons at that time, and they were getting abuse at school.
It's not easy being a football manager. I think it's more difficult than even being a business manager, because you're there and you've got to, depending on the crowd, 10,000, 15,000 or 20,000 people who all want to do your job for you.
Alex Miller had won 5 League Cups, 2 Scottish Cups and 5 Championship badges as a player. The 1991 League Cup final against Dunfermline was his first chance to add a manager's medal to his collection and finally win over the Hibernian fans. The last time a Hibs team had won any silverware was 1972, when Turnbull's Tornadoes lifted the cup. 17 years of relative obscurity and 2 added years of sheer hell later, Hibs were in contention again. While the maroon half of Edinburgh sat at home and backed Dunfermline, the Hibs fans were desperate for a win. Defeat was unthinkable. A green and white-clad army packed Hampden's terraces that day, and for once, they weren't from Glasgow.
The big thing for me at that time was not to come away from Hampden a loser. I had to win the cup, I had to be in the winning team. I kept saying to myself, we can't lose. Just the fear kept me going.
Talented left foot. Out of luck there, the youngster coming inside, Mickey Weir trying to break clear for Hibs. He's brought down in the end by McWilliams. An angry reaction from Mickey
First half of the game, you're out and we're there, but we're not there, we're not playing the way we've been playing, we're not playing quickly, we're not aggressive, we're not winning challenges.
Now Martin McLeod looking for a shooting chance. That was deflected off McCarthy.
You just felt we've just turned up thinking we're going to get the cup.
Dunfermline played well in the first half. We were a wee bit lucky at times to get through it.
After a dismal first half, the destination of the League Cup still hung in the balance. Would it be Edinburgh or Dunfermline? Alex Miller had just 15 minutes to inspire his team.
What I remember most was at half-time when he came in and the score was 0-0, and he just really quietly said, "Don't let this pass you by, this could be the biggest day of your lives."
And I said to the players, just go and relax. You've got all the tools that you need. You've got the tactical awareness, you've got good fitness. Go and relax and go and take the cup. You deserve it.
If the Hibernian fans had seen a performance reminiscent of the disastrous 1990 season in the first half, they welcomed back the 1991 vintage in the second. Hibs just needed an even break. What they got was a lucky one.
Here's Weir again, trying to get away from Sharp, brought down in the end, a penalty kick has been given.
Michael Weir got brought down to the penalty kick. One or two say it was a wee bit soft, but...
Sharp went down, he appeared to catch him perhaps with his arm, or did he?
No, it wasn't a dive. That was another one I've lived with for a long time.
It was a miss kick, a complete miss kick.
I just basically tried to go by the full back and got my feet caught up at the same time and ended up on the floor.
And I went, penalty! You know, and it's like, penalty.
Up stepped Tommy McIntyre, possibly for that brief moment in time, the coolest man on the planet.
I really just tried to focus the ball, the goal, and where I was wanting to put it, to blank out the crowd, the players, everything around about you, and just to focus on the ball.
You just felt, this is the one, this is the one. If Tam puts it in, we'll go on and win the cup.
Tommy McIntyre, the record is gone, Hibs take the lead.
And to see the ball get in, probably the best penalty kick you've ever seen.
But the fairy tale being played out for the Hibs fans didn't end there. One player had a destiny to fulfil.
And then the script was written for Big Keith Wright to go through and score.
It's Tom Wilson.
Now Cunnington.
Mickey Weir got the ball inside right.
Go on, Keith, go on. Hammer it, hammer it.
Right, this could settle it for Hibs. It's Keith Wright. That settles it. Hibs now surely destined to win the cup.
And when that goal went in, that was it. All the relief from the previous 2 years was shown on the Hibs fans' faces, was shown on the players' faces. We knew that Hibs was still alive and kicking, and this was the culmination of what had gone on for the previous 2 years, and everyone was happy.
Here by Hunter. Referee Mike McGinley ends the match. Jubilation there on the Hibs bench. The manager Alec Miller.
As a boy, when you're growing up, the dream is always to walk up the Hampden steps and lift a cup. So I thought, that's it, we've done it. This is a big moment, up the Hampden steps to lift the cup.
But to turn round and see so many Hibs fans on the ground, it's just fantastic.
You didn't think about it at the time, but it's not until after it you realise that you see the teams in the final, getting to the final, and the cup getting handed along the line, holding the cup up, as you do as a boy, you dream about that, but that was taken away from us. Murdo and Willie quite happy to walk away with the cups and celebrate ourselves. So that was, if any regrets on the day, that must be it. I didn't get a chance to hold a cup up at Hampden.
The moment for me winning the cup was getting back to Edinburgh on that open-top bus and seeing the amount of fans that were on the street and how much that Hibs meant.
I've won cups before, and I've sat on open-top buses before, but my God.
It hit home before with the Hands Off Hibs campaign, but I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I don't think I'll ever see anything again.
When we get back to the stadium was locked out. It was just a packed stadium.
You wonder where everyone came from, and went out onto the pitch in the ovation. You still get the goosebumps in the back of the neck when you're talking about it, but just wonderful.
At the time, you're always thinking, this is it, I've just joined Hibs, this is what it's all about, getting in cup finals and it's winning things like this. But when you look back at your career now and you realise that was the only time it happened, it probably was the best time as a football player.
It's something that nobody can take away from you, and that was the main thing. Nobody can take that away from you. You've won, you're a cup winner.
Hang on a minute. Did Murdo ever pick up the cash from his winning bet?
I can't remember. I think I went, but I didn't go in because somebody would recognise me in the bookie. Because obviously it was illegal to do these sort of things, and so you didn't want to be seen going in and picking up a wad. So I went in the car, and somebody else went in and got it.